Hi. Almost everyone watches me without a subscription. Please support my channel with a subscription. I try for you. Thank you.
Story 1. A woman I'm dating posted my picture on a cheater's page. I met Danielle on a dating app and we immediately hit it off. Conversation was super easy for us, so we swapped numbers and spent the next 2 weeks texting and talking on the phone. I explained early on that I want to take my time because not only am I looking for something serious, but also have work commitments the next few months. I work in tech product sales, which can be very busy and also involve me leaving the city for a few days at a time. She said she understood and was also looking for something long-term. Great. We met the weekend before Valentine's and had a nice restaurant date following by dessert and coffee. We finished with a kiss and I walked her back to her car. It was definitely the best date I've been on since my last relationship. The next day, I called her to say I was looking forward to seeing her again and would plan something when I get back. I live in a major North American city, and from the 15th to 17th I was booked 3 hours away for on-site client meetings. I told her about this and let her know we'd keep in touch. On the Friday I'm due to get back, I get a message from a close female friend asking who I pissed off. I have no clue what she's talking about. She sends me a screenshot of my photo on what looks like a FB page and tells me it's a private group where women call out men for cheating. It's called Are We Dating the Same Guy? And this particular group is just for people from my city, and in the screenshot multiple people are posting under my picture with mostly harmless comments like, "Oh, I went on a date with him years ago, he was okay," but there were others like "PM me for the tea," and one woman said, "He's an angry asshole, stay away for your safety." Because it's FB, I instantly recognized her name as someone I went on a date with last summer who I had to block after she repeatedly tried to sell me her cat. Absolute lunatic. A few things about me: I am single, I have never been married, and my last relationship was over a year ago. I am very selective, and Danielle was the first date I'd been on since the end of summer. I am also a very private person. I don't use social media and I don't kiss and tell. The fact that my photo is on this site is mortifying. What makes matters worse is when I got home I started getting texts from a bunch of other people I know either laughing at me or calling me a womanizer. As of now I'm aware that several female friends have seen it, one coworker, my sister, and a woman I know who lives in the same building as me that excitedly grabbed me when I was leaving this morning to tell me, "I saw you on that Facebook group." Apparently it's a lot more popular than I realized. There's only one person who would have the motivation to do this, so I called Danielle on the weekend and asked her. Initially she denied it, but after some prodding that flipped to apparently her friend posting it. Why? Because a few of them had gotten tipsy together on Valentine's, as they're all single. My name came up after her friends asked why she wasn't with me that night after the great date she told them about. Apparently me not being around as I was leaving early the next morning for work was suspicious, as was the fact we'd been talking for multiple weeks, but she'd never seen my place. She gave them a pic I used on the dating app and one of them posted it. She told me she was sorry, but that I seemed too good to be true. Her last relationship ended due to cheating and she wanted to make sure I wasn't married or in a relationship. I told her I needed some time to think and would be in touch. That was Saturday. We've been silent until today, where I woke up to dozens of messages from her saying things along the lines of "I'm so sorry / I'm so angry with myself for this," and then the real truth. It was her that posted it. She wanted to come completely clean and apologized for lying, telling me she panicked when I confronted her, but she wants it all out now. She sent me screenshots unprovoked of the PM conversations she was having with women in the group about me. Aside from the one head case I mentioned earlier, there was nothing accusatory, but what I couldn't get over was how they were discussing me in such an open manner. It had nothing to do with whether I was single or cheating. It was stuff like, "He took me to this restaurant, he drives this kind of car, this is what he's like in bed, this is what his place is like, this is how much money I think he makes." I would never talk about exes or people I've dated like that. And if a guy tried to talk to me about Danielle like that, I'd think he was a fucking weirdo and tell him to stop. My two closest female friends are divided on this, so I'm here for advice. One thinks that women need to protect themselves against predators and violence, and groups like this are necessary. The other is angry on my behalf because the presumption of men being posted to that group are that they're cheaters or sketchy, otherwise why would anyone even post them there? I really don't know what to do next. I've never had to deal with anything remotely like this before. I like Danielle, but it was one date. She also lied to me about it at first. This seems like a headache, and we've never even had sex yet. Is she going to get even more paranoid after that? It doesn't feel like we're compatible. This feels like the past 3 weeks of us talking have been one massive waste, and that actually stings because she's the first person I've really liked since my ex. TLDR, went on a date with a woman and she posted my pic to a cheaters group because she wanted to know if I was actually single. Now my private life is disrupted and I don't know if we're compatible moving forward. Update back with an update, but firstly, a couple of quick notes based on the feedback I got. No, I am not Patrick or David or Eric or Pascal or Brett. Thank you for the PMs asking. As much as I'd like to be a Brett since that was my favorite wrestler as a kid, it's concerning that these MSGs imply this seems to be happening so much that the identities can be confused. I don't care if you think my close female friend violated the sanctity of your super cool secret girls only club. As she told me, her loyalties are to me. She's known me since I was a child and knows that I didn't deserve to have my photo plastered there. I understand that those groups may be necessary in keeping women safe or finding predators, but their moderators should go harder in ensuring that it meets those goals rather than running a de facto gossip club where innocent people's personal lives are affected. I've had dozens of people reach out with very similar experiences, so perhaps your rules should reflect that rather than just keep boys out. The lunatic who wanted to sell me her cat. He seemed like a cool dude, but I just wasn't in the market for a pet. He also only had 3 legs, which made him run like a drunken sailor. All cats deserve love. I hope he got away from her. Some of you, alarmingly, struggle with concepts of consent. I consented to my photo appearing on a dating app. I did not consent to my photo appearing in a "Is This Guy Trash?" group. These are not the same, and the stigma and assumptions associated with both are vastly different. I really shouldn't have to explain this, but here we are. Regarding me not realizing how big this group was. 3 of the women in my life all found out about it the same way. On Valentine's Day, a radio show ran a segment on it, then it got picked up by blogs and social media. It's even appeared on local television. My friend saw it on Twitter. Another saw this guy was dating 12 women, post that got shared, and decided to investigate. My sister was texted by her friend about it. And when they all rushed to check the group out, there I was. Great timing. It currently has over 50,000 members. Anyway, moving on. I decided not to pursue things with Danielle. She took the post down during our radio silence, but it mainly boiled down to just not seeing her in the same light anymore. I can accept that she is genuinely sorry, but I also know how I am, and it wouldn't be fair to either of us. This is supposed to be the honeymoon period. Everything is supposed to be light and cute. Now it's just suspicion and resentment. Not gonna lie, that period between when we first started talking to when I went away on my trip was really great. I looked forward to talking to her. When I would see a text, I got butterflies. When we kissed, it felt electric. Some people said what she did was such an obvious red flag they were questioning why I was even hesitating. The reason is that I haven't felt like this in some time. My last relationship lasted 5 years, and after we broke up I legitimately wondered if I could find that spark again. Especially after trying dating apps here and there and not having much luck finding the right person. I do want to feel that spark again and find my person, but holding on to something that already has these problems before it even starts is the wrong move. Instead, I'm simply happy I got to experience it. Now I know it's out there and possible again, just not with Daniela. But I'll be honest. I did wake up today thinking, hey, you never know, maybe a couple months down the line I'll think different and maybe we'll go grab a drink. And then I saw she texted me. To preface, before I left the city for work she sent me a photo with a message, "Don't forget about me." It was her in a bikini on a summer beach blowing a kiss. She's quite chesty, so it's not exactly SFW, but there was no nudity. I opened today's text, which reads, "Hey, hope I'm not disturbing you, but I'd like to ask you to delete that picture I sent and do not share it with anyone." What the fuck? I replied, "The only copy of that picture is in our chat thread. Do you seriously have this low an opinion of me?" To which she apologized and said she was just making sure. Fine. At first I was annoyed, but then I realized the most important thing, it was a reminder I'd made the right decision. So I made another and deleted her number. Story 2. My husband is my boss, and we're getting divorced. I am asking for advice about how to handle my impending divorce at work. I work at a large nonprofit in a specialist capacity that is a recognized priority for the company, but organizationally belongs to one of 5 departments. I've worked here for 10 years. I was headhunted by the executive director and have worked myself up to the specialist position I have now. My husband of 28 years has been employed at the nonprofit for 20 years, and during the last 5, he has been the head of the department I am in, my boss. The organization has many married couples on all levels. The former executive director was married to the head of the largest and most important department. My husband has previously given me worse conditions than others to avoid being accused of favoring me, to the point that the director had to step in. It has not been easy, but I have done my utmost to behave professionally and keep my private life as separate from my work as humanly possible. Now my husband/head of department has asked for a divorce suddenly and unexpectedly, as he is having an affair with a colleague. The divorce is a great shock, made worse by the fact that our daughter is critically ill and faces a long, hard recovery. My wife's soon-to-be ex-husband has the power to cut my funding, lay me off, give negative feedback to the director about me, badmouth me, and make my life even harder than it is. I normally have a good rapport with the director, but should I tell him about the divorce and illness or not? I wish to remain professional and private, but without telling him about the divorce, I have no way of protecting myself from the persecution that I fear from my ex-husband. On the other hand, the director might lay me off himself to avoid problems with my ex-husband. My priority is to keep my job, since finding a new one is next to impossible and I need the insurance for my daughter. Update: I appreciated the advice and the comments. I most of all appreciated a clear view of my situation. The divorce will be finalized in 6 months and I have moved out. Not having to be in contact with my ex-husband privately has helped a lot. In the comments there were questions on the age and paternity of my daughter. She is a very young adult and my now ex-husband is her father, but since he abandoned her so heartlessly, I cannot bring myself to use the word our. She says she has lost her father, and that is the truth. She is, thank God, doing well now and does not need medical treatment or the insurance anymore, so that is a big relief. I always knew that my place of work had an unhealthy culture, but I am happy to be confirmed in that belief and shown just how toxic it is. However, the situation now is clearly untenable and I am looking for another job, of course. It is difficult, but I hope to be able to land one in 2021. Regarding my current job, I continue to keep the divorce a secret and plan to do so as long as possible. So far, my soon-to-be ex-husband has agreed. He is going to have a new boss very soon, and that will probably be someone from the outside who may not be on board with the prevalent unhealthy culture, at least not in the beginning, so he is afraid of what will happen if the abandonment and affair comes to light in a way he cannot control. Someone asked in the comments if my husband is the boss of his new girlfriend. And yes, he is. She is a member of the same department as I am, and the affair has been going on for years behind my back. No, now, thank God I do not work in teams with her and never see her due to COVID, because that would be untenable. I thought my ex-husband was a bad manager even before the divorce, and that, and the loss of respect I have for him now, makes going through meetings with him very difficult. Thank God for COVID restrictions. We have very few meetings now. I have declined the career development meetings that employees are offered here. There is no point, since I have no faith that he is the least interested in me developing my career. The reason I have kept my silence is that the director gave me a new assignment, a large project, not long after I wrote to you. This assignment may well be my ticket to another job, and if I had disclosed the divorce to him, it would have cost me the assignment and most likely my job. Actually, what I took most at heart from your advice was the level of toxicity in the organization. I realized that my faith in the director is misplaced and that he has a large part in creating and sustaining this culture. Believing that he would want to change this culture or even take my concerns about retaliation from my ex-husband seriously is naive, and any faith that my husband's new boss is going to be a better manager is naive too. So I will leave as soon as I can, keep my silence as long as I can, and when my husband goes public with his mistress, now girlfriend, at my workplace, I am going to behave with as much dignity as I possibly can. Of course, I will warn any of your readers, indeed anyone, against working in an organization that allows one spouse to manage the other. It is, as you and others said, a huge red flag, and the only thing there is to do is to get out as soon as possible. So that is what I am going to do. Update: I am the letter writing who wrote in the middle of a divorce from my boss, who left me for a younger employee. Firstly, I want to thank both you and the readers for your compassion and kindness. Neither you nor the readers gloated or said I got what I deserved, and I am so grateful for that. Your compassion and kind advice showed me that I was reacting normally to an utter untenable situation. You restored my sense of normalcy and my confidence, and I am so grateful. The 1.5 years since my letter was printed has been eventful, to say the least. To start, I work at the same company in the same position. As I wrote in my original letter, I wanted to stay in the job because my young adult daughter was seriously ill and in psychiatric treatment and needed the insurance for her treatment. Furthermore, I am a top specialist in a very narrow field with few job opportunities, so a change of job would mean moving to another part of the country, and I could not bear to leave my daughter behind without the support of a parent, and my ex-husband is not what I call a parent. Half of my original problem is solved, as my ex-husband resigned as head of department a few months ago, to my immense relief. However, the time after my original letter and until his resignation was bonkers. As expected, my ex-husband/boss started belittling me and questioning my qualifications in meetings with me and my colleagues. He started withdrawing my funding, and he started placing very important project meetings on the exact days and times he had sent me on jobs outside the institution. I believe his plan was either to force me to resign or to make sure I had so many stress-related sick days that the institution could fire me. In the same period, 2 colleagues, both excellent specialists, resigned, and resignations are very rare here, in protest of my ex-husband/boss's treatment of them. Both of them had meetings with the director, where they documented the ways in which my ex-husband/boss was a terrible manager and explained that they left because of him. The director did absolutely nothing with that information. One commenter remarked that a fish rots from the head, and that is certainly the case here. In our only meeting, the director stated that the independence and autonomy of the head of department, my ex-husband, was his first priority, so he would not put a stop to what he called the alleged mistreatment, and that his second was to make sure that I conducted myself professionally towards my ex-husband/boss. He said that my objections to being managed by my ex-husband during a divorce process showed that I was overly emotional because he had complete trust in my ex's abilities as a manager. In my country, not the States, employers have a legal obligation to create a safe work environment, so he was breaking the law as well as being a jerk. I had to call in sick after that meeting. The end came when my boss/ex-husband and the director in secret fostered a plan to get rid of me and another colleague. My ex/boss stated that I and the colleague, our most excellent senior specialist, were getting too old and needed to be replaced in a short number of years. We are 15 and 17 years away from the official retirement age. The solution should be to hire completely inexperienced recent graduates, order me and my colleague to train them to our specialist level, and then have them replace us while we would be fired because of budget cuts. To make matters worse, all senior specialists receive no funding from the department budget, but have to apply for our funding ourselves from external sources. This has been a long-time point of contention. My ex-husband/boss had for years stated that the institution was much too poor to fund even the slightest bit of the senior staff, and especially me. Now we learned that these new employees would be fully funded by the institution. My boss/X and the director fostered this plan and kept it secret in order to have it sustained by the board, but we got wind of it. The secrecy and the plan did not go down well with either us nor the other senior specialists, who would of course be the next ones to be deemed too old and fired on the flimsiest of pretenses after having trained their successors. I asked for a meeting with my boss/X in order to discuss the plan and, if possible, avoid a big blowout at the next department meeting. That meeting went badly. My boss/X said I was being paranoid as usual. The as usual refers to an incident that took place in private a year earlier. I then confronted him, having learned from a colleague that he was having a long-time affair with another of his employees. That affair apparently started while my mother was in hospice care 5 years ago. Asked about the issues with funding, he stated that of course the senior staff would receive some compensation for the time we used on training our fully funded replacements. I still don't know how I managed to refrain from telling him exactly what he could do to himself. The next department meeting was dramatic, to say the least. All senior specialists opposed the plan, the funding, and opposed the way my ex-husband/boss had handled the process, and the mistrust towards him was palpable. My ex-boss resigned from his position as head of department and took a demotion a week after the meeting. Apparently, he and the director realized that the only other choice was to fire 10 renowned specialists, which would lead to very bad publicity. However, not all is well. Upper management still suck and is not going to change. The director has hired a person with absolutely no prior management experience to fill the now vacant position as head of department. And of course, this generational transfer is going to come back. Management is even talking about reintegrating the ex-boss into the department again. Good luck with that. Morale in the department is at an all-time low, and upper management is working overtime to free themselves for responsibility for the dumpster fire they have ignited. The good part is that my daughter is doing much better. In 6 months, perhaps a year, she will no longer need the level of support she does now, and then my institutions will see my dust. I realize that this update is tragicomic and the whole process seems grotesque. However, being in the middle of it felt like a nightmare, as I fought my way through an acrimonious divorce from an emotionally and financially abusive husband/boss while my work life was under attack from said husband/boss, who was given free range by a director telling me I was overly emotional for even suggesting that I did not trust said abusive boss/ex-husband's ability to manage me while divorcing me. At that point, I seriously questioned my sanity. Thank you for coming to my rescue. As Allison has pointed out, toxic environments can twist your sense of normalcy, and I am so grateful to Allison and the wonderful readers for giving sound and sane advice, kindness, and compassion that restored my sense of normalcy and my confidence and put me in a place where I am finally ready to move on.
Please subscribe, leave comments, rate videos, and click the bell not to miss my videos.